those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop your comments down below, share your video with anyone else that you think might be interested. Obviously, we've got a 2-week international break now, so they've got some time to catch up on old episodes. So just share them with anyone that you think's an avid Man United or Arsenal fan, or even just a football fan in general. And for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the other podcasting platforms, please follow, give us a 5-star review. All that stuff helps us with the growth of the podcast. But all right, let's move on to the last segment then, special segment. Obviously, the transfer window has closed. It didn't do too much, although I think the Ugarte deal, it was very, very stinky.
You had a lot of outs.
Ineos.
You had a lot of outs,
but it was very...
bloody hell.
It was very stinky of Ineos to push that Ugarte deal right to the window, because it was basically here we go on Tuesday and wasn't announced until Friday, just before the window had ended. So we didn't actually have loads of action on that day inwards anyway. Like you said, there was some outs. But Arsenal, you guys were definitely busy. You had a couple of ins on the last day, as well as a couple or 2 or 3 outs on the last day as well. So we'll give our verdicts and transfer grades on both Man U and Arsenal, and then we'll give our overall winners and losers. So we'll start, just quick recap. I'll do this very quickly. The Man United ins and outs. So we got Yoro in from Lille, Xerxes from Bologna, De Ligt from Bayern, Mazraoui from Bayern, Ugarte, like I just mentioned, from PSG, Sekou Kone from Gaydars, young Malian, and then Obi Martin hasn't been confirmed yet, but it seems to be going through the Premier League's ratification process or whatever, coming from Arsenal. The outs: Greenwood to Marseille, Camboire to Villarreal, Van der Beek for a packet of crisps to Girona, Forson to Monza, Fernandes to Benfica, Wan-Bissaka West Ham, Pelistri to Panathinaikos, Will Fish to Cardiff, Hannibal to Burnley, McTominay to Napoli, and Sancho to Chelsea. The Arsenal ins: you got Raya from Brentford, which is obviously like a bit of a cheap deal because you did it last season. You got Setford from Ajax, Calafiori from Bologna, Marino from Sociedad, Raza, Sterling from Chelsea, and then Neto from Bournemouth. On the outs, you lost Smith Rowe to Fulham, Norton Cuffy to Genoa, Lokonga to Sevilla, Tavares to Lazio, Patino to Deportivo, Kozia Dubry, which was a bit of a surprise youngster, to Brighton, Berith to Sturm Graz, and Nketiah to Crystal Palace, Ramsdale to Southampton, Nelson to Fulham. I'll start with you, Johns. Let's do Arsenal then. Let's go alphabetically. What did you make of the window as a whole, and what grade do you give Arsenal for this transfer window? Because I've seen some delusional AFTV Robbie. I see you out here giving them high marks, and then Turkish giving them very low marks. Where do you sit on this?
I'm going to give them a C+. And the reason I do that is because they are aiming at the wrong place, but the place that they're aiming at was good. Do you know what I mean? Right? They aim at the defense, so they're aiming at the completely wrong target. It's like playing tennis. They're hitting a winner on the court next to them. They ain't hitting a winner on their own court, and that's my issue with them, right? Because Calafiori is a good buy, Marino is a good buy if that's what you're looking for, right? If you're trying to improve the centre midfield kind of position. And Calafiori is obviously very good if you're trying to improve the defence. I just don't think that those places should have been the first place that we focus on. All right, I'm not going to include Raya and Setford in them because, as you said, Raya is already part of the team. Setford is not going to play, right? So I'm not really going to look at that. Maybe for the future, in 10 years' time, I can come back and say this is an A+ because Setford's the best bloody goalkeeper in the world, but I doubt it, right? So aiming at the wrong place, but shooting well, right? Because Sterling stinks. Right? The only thing that makes that good, and the copium that I've seen from Arsenal fans, is that Chelsea are paying him bloody 60% of his wages and we have no obligation to buy him. That's the only thing that is making this deal good, is because it feels like Arsenal fans, we feel like we screwed Chelsea over. Right? That's the only thing that's making this good, because if you said to yourself, forget about the fee, let's just set the fee at mediocre or normal, whatever you'd expect. We would say, why the hell are you buying him? We don't need him. He's not that, or he's not good enough to fill the position that we need, right? He's not significantly better than Martinelli. He's not significantly better than Leandro Trossard. And he's just coming off arguably the worst period of his career he's ever had, right? The fact that we screwed Chelsea is the only reason why people are coping. So I think that one stinks. Neto from Bournemouth, I'm fine with that one because we're just replacing basically Ramsdale. I just don't see, in my opinion, I don't see that as an upgrade or a downgrade. I just think that that's kind of more of the same. So overall, I'm going to have to give us a C plus because I just think Calafiori's an upgrade for us. Like, he is good. He adds squad. He adds depth. I don't think he's going to start. I don't think he's significantly better than Timber, but he's definitely better than Zinchenko in my opinion when it comes to defending. And then Marino is, he's probably better than Partey. Maybe I don't know. He's going to add something to our team in terms of being a unit and being pretty good. And he's just come off the back of winning the Euros, right? But I can't, in good faith, give them a high grade for this because where is Benjamin Sesko? Where is Isak? Where is somebody that we actually need up top of the pitch that would have put away one of the two chances that we got against Brighton last, in the second half after we got Rice sent off? Because it's the same old story. Havertz is going to go and score us goals, and he's got a pretty good goal record, but he didn't bloody put away that finish, did he? And get us out of a tight, tricky spot. So it's going to come down to the same thing at the end of the season, I reckon.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I also forgot to mention Fabio Vieira to Porto as well. But no, I hear you, man. And I think I would give Arsenal a C. So I'm going slightly lower than you. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I just look at your team and I feel like your first 11 is probably around where it was last year. I don't think any of the players, maybe slightly improved, because I think Calafiori could potentially come in at left back. And my opinion of Zinchenko. I think that's a massive upgrade, if I'm perfectly honest. And I think once he gets used to the league, I think he'll be a really good player. And I think you can expect him to have somewhat of a similar impact to Ben White. So I think you've improved your first 11 slightly. But I will say, I think your squad has got weaker. Because I look at Marino's good because he didn't really lose anyone from midfield necessarily. So, but I mean, I think the jury's out on him.
I think our attacking midfield and striker options are a bit weaker.
Definitely. And this is the thing. I'm all for, because if you'd have got rid of the guys that you got rid of, Smith Rowe, Nketiah, Ramsdale, Nelson, Vieira, Konga, Tavares, I'm not going to count the youngsters too much, but if you got rid of those guys and got a couple of people like top quality, like you mentioned, in to replace them, then I think your grade goes from a C to, a B plus or an A minus. It goes high because you've improved the first 11, but you've also maintained the squad depth. And I feel like what you've done here is you've got a very incremental improvement to the first 11. It's yet to be seen whether that improvement, Calafiori, is enough to get you over the line. I don't think it's a massive jump up. And then you've definitely weakened yourself more than incrementally. I think quite a little bit, especially in attack, like you mentioned, where you just don't have the options. Now, I'm not saying that those guys were great. I agree with selling them. So I think it's not a case of you've lost world beaters or anything like that. But I do think in that Brighton game, when you're drawing, or in the future when you're drawing a game and you need to throw someone on, you've pretty much only got one shot normally. It's normally the Trossard or Martinelli shouts, right? I don't think you're not going to have Jesus for a lot of the season. He's in and out injured a lot of the time. And other than that, I can't see the depth. You're going straight to youngsters after that. And that's worrying, man. Or obviously maybe now Sterling as well. But, you've said enough about Sterling. I don't need to give my opinion too much on what I think of him as a player at the moment. So yeah, I can't give myself, I can't give you more than a C for your business, but I'm not going to join in with these people saying it's a catastrophic window. It's just not. I think it's not what you guys hoped for when you're trying to bridge the gap.
Catastrophic windows as an Arsenal fan is ridiculous to say, because a catastrophic window is losing Van Persie to Man United, right? This is not, unless Saka goes to United or something and getting Shamak. Yeah, exactly, right. Unless we lose somebody like that, God forbid, I beg, I'm praying to God that doesn't happen. Then it can't be considered to be catastrophic. We've seen so much worse. But I agree with you. I think we have incrementally seen a decline in the depth of our attack. I think man for man, 11, 11 versus 11, we've still got as good an attack as we did last year, right? But on the depth side, I agree with you. I think we have declined slightly. Jury's out. Let's see if Sterling turns out to be, even 75% of what he used to be. Because if he did, then maybe that is an upgrade on Nelson, and maybe that is an upgrade on Vieira as well. Who knows? But based off of what I know now, the best information I have today, he doesn't look so great. So I agree with you. I don't think it is. It has been the best for our attacking depth this window.
But if the only copium I would have if I'm an Arsenal fan is you look at your rivals around you. Man City slightly ahead, Liverpool slightly behind off last season's performances. They haven't taken massive jumps to make me go as an Arsenal fan. Oh crap, we're in real doo doo. Like I think Savio, I'm probably in with Rory Jennings' shout of the predictions with saying that he's going to be a flop because he's looked like a Mahrez regen. So that's not looking good. But it's still one player. I don't think City have massively improved or taken the transfer window to kick on loads. And I think
unless Gundogan turns back into Gundogan of 2 seasons ago, because if he does, then we are all screwed.
yeah, of course. But I think that would be. I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting Gundogan. Yeah, I'm expecting Gundogan to come in and just buff out the squad a little bit and be there in moments of need and stuff like that. But yeah, they haven't gone wild, right? Yeah. And I think Liverpool have obviously signed Chiesa and the goalie for next season. So
Man City lost Julian Alvarez, so that's a boon for everyone else as well because he was pretty good.
Exactly, and so that's the reason why I won't be as harsh on the window, and I still think it could be a passing grade. It could be enough to get you there, but you're definitely going to be relying on the injury gods to not hit you because it feels like Arteta admitted it. There are areas now more so than last season where it feels like you're a bit short, or could be short if something bad happens. But yeah, I'm going to go C, but I think C plus. I get it. I think that's around a fair reflection. I think of your business. Let's go on to United then. I'll start with this one. This is really hard to judge, obviously, off the back of the 2 defeats and the general vibe around the club. But I'm going to stick with what I'm seeing on this page, and I think we've had a B. We've had a B window, I'd say. I feel like we've addressed issues or areas of the squad where there were big glaring issues last season. Centre back being one, having to rely on Maguire and Johnny Evans every week was not ideal, and I don't think that's likely to be the situation this season, even if we have bad injuries, touch wood. I think we've got much more depth in that area. At fullback, I like Mazraoui. I think he's done well. I do think he's an upgrade offensively to Wan-Bissaka, but yeah, you saw in that Liverpool game where having a Wan-Bissaka maybe would have helped because his defensive instincts maybe would have stopped some of those situations. But that's the way we want to play as a team, so I'm not going to now lambast that decision. And we'll see with Ugarte, but I feel like getting someone in there with legs and who's a tackler and focus on defensive midfield is a good thing. And then, the youngsters, we'll see. Kone, Obi Martin, who knows what will happen with those, but those are kind of like minor rolls of the dice with youth players that could pay off in the future. Xerxes, the one where I go, he's going to have a lot of work. He's going to have his work cut out to catch up. But I think he's a good player. And I just think the expectations of him being a gunman and coming in and doing XYZ are probably too high. And you'll probably find when Højlund is back, Højlund will be the starter. Because I think Højlund's got more of those striker instincts that we'll need in certain games. And Xerxes will be someone that will come in and rotate. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with that business. Of course, I would have maybe liked another midfield. I was talking about Amrabat as well. But I don't know if there's a way that United could have scored an A for me in this window. The only way maybe would have been to sell Maguire, sell Onana, sell a bunch of players who I think are not Man United players, essentially. And I don't think that was ever going to happen. So I feel like the business that they've done has been good. both in and out. I'm relieved to get rid of Sancho, and I'm never going to talk about him again, unless it's to make fun of him when he's at Chelsea, because he will be. Did you see his little goodbye message? Disgrace, mate. Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. He literally just said, "Thanks to the fans, thanks to the club, good luck in the future." You joking, mate? You literally went to Dortmund after, being an absolute little prick with our manager, who, whatever we say about the manager, regardless, it doesn't mean now, even if we sack Ten Hag, doesn't make me go, oh, maybe we should have brought Sancho back. Sancho's useless. He's not got minerals, and it won't change my opinion at all. But yeah, he's immediately become like the biggest Chelsea cheerleader. He's changed all his socials to everything Chelsea. He's basically just flipped overnight to be a player that cares about his club, after being at our club for the last 12 months or 18 months, not giving two flying shits about the team, and actively, almost feeling like he's trying to antagonize the fans with some of his behavior and stuff like that. So good riddance. I'm not even worried that he's going to bang. I've got to be honest. There's some players that we sell and you go, oh, bloody hell. There's even a part of me of Premier League when it got Tony Marshall. I'm a bit like, oh, you never know. He could come back and bite us. But with Sancho, zero worry. Zero
Clip
worry.
this one up, people.
Clip it up. Clip it up. I don't care. There is zero worry that he's going to do anything in the Premier League. And I'll caveat that with the Premier League. I feel like if he'd have gone to, where was the other team, Juve, or whoever was in for him, he could bang in the Serie A.
He works in a slow league. He works in a slow league, not in a fast one. Yeah. Yeah,
he could bang in Serie A. He could bang in La Liga. He could bang in even in Germany, even in Bundesliga, even though sometimes it's a lot of counter-attacking. It's still, the players aren't as athletic as the Premier League. There is zero chance he's going to bang at Chelsea. And I've got to be honest, it's not only because of his lack of suitability for the league and the fact that he's an absolute yellow belly. It's because they've actually got good wingers. So if you think Rashford, Garnacho and Diallo kept him out, what do you think Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer, Madueke playing well are going to do? He's not going to touch that field unless there's an injury crisis or unless you're singing the Conference League anthem. So whatever. Good luck to him. I'm actually, that's a lie. Not good luck to him. But I don't even need to wish him bad luck. I know what it is. Like, he's shit and good riddance, mate. So yeah, I would give Man United a B. What do you make, mate?
I'm giving you a B+, because I think, I think Euro and Xerxes are the two that I'd be most worried about out of the ones that I've seen so far. Obviously, I haven't seen Agate at all. But Euro has the potential, in my opinion, if you don't get him back immediately and start playing the life out of him, he has the potential to become like a Malacia where you just never see him again. Or somebody else that, Tony Marshall where you very rarely even see him on the pitch. And I'm not trying to overdo it as if he's the most injury-prone person ever, but starting your career in that way and the way that we've seen things go with other players, I'm worried that he doesn't, he can never really set himself and get himself back. So I think he needs a little bit of luck, some good, medical staff, and then I need a manager that plays him for him to really kick on and be good at Man United. So he's the main worry I have. But I think outside of that, you've done an excellent job getting rid of a lot of crap. Because as much as you want to get rid of Maguire and not everybody else, you've already got rid of bloody 19 different players or whatever it is, right? And most of them are the crap that you wanted to get rid of at the beginning of the season. So the fact that you've been able to get most of them out and you've just got a couple of clingers on that are just dragging at the back of the car, just, hanging on for their dear life, that's all right. Because getting rid of that many players in one season or in one window can be negative. It can mess up the dressing room vibes. It can mess up a lot of the things in the club, right? We saw it with Nottingham Forest when they tried to buy like 25 people in one season. It takes a long time to figure that stuff out. So the other way around, losing 25 people in a season also can destabilize you slightly. So I think you've done a good job of getting rid of as much crap as you can, and you've done a decent job of getting money for them, right? On the ins, I think you've actually been exactly what I kind of told you before, outside of maybe one or two of those signings, which is don't go for the guys that are, the hyped up Sanchos of the world that are like gassed up and you're going to have to pay so much money for them and you're going to just ruin your budget and end up being massive divas that are crap. Go for the smaller players, the ones that people aren't focusing on quite as much. Try and go and get them, or the ones that are a bit down on their luck, go and try and get them and make something out of them. I think you've done that for the most part. I'd say outside of Euro, I think Euro is probably the most hyped player that you bought, and you obviously paid the price for it. I think outside of that, like getting De Ligt, who's kind of down on his luck, you get a good deal for him. He could end up being, there's quite a lot of upside or potential to that being a good transfer for you. Mazraoui, clearly underrated. He's not a world beater, but he's also not crap. And I think in a lot of high level teams, he would fit in. Like he wouldn't stand out as being useless, right? Like you could stick him into Man City team. I don't think he'd stand out as being crap in that team. I think he'd kind of get along. He'd be like an Ake, a Kanji. I don't know if everyone's big on those guys, but what I'm saying is like he could end up being a really good system player for a really good team. So I don't think he's a bad buy at all. Ugarte clearly down on his luck after a bad year at PSG, but before that, don't forget everybody was all over his nuts thinking that he's going to be the best player ever. So you're getting him for a decent deal, right? He could end up being pretty helpful for you. It's a position that you need. So I think generally speaking, the players you've bought have filled the positions that you needed, and you haven't been rinsed for them, right? And they kind of fit the idea of a trajectory that you are kind of down in luck at the moment and you need to get back up there. Because if I saw you guys try and go out and bloody buy Osherman and this player and that player, as much as your fans would go absolutely nuts and be so happy about it, you would have spent like 400 million in a season, and you probably would have a lot of big egos that wouldn't be willing to listen to Ten Hag. What you've done now is lay the foundation, whether it's for Ten Hag or somebody else, for a bunch of players that don't have an ego because they've either been crap recently or they're not the most hyped players ever in the world, right? And that's exactly what you need. Because with Arteta, we had youngsters, we had players that weren't, so super hyped, like Ben White, Ramsdale. No one was singing them like they were going to be the best players ever, right? Everyone knew that they were coming from either a relegated crap team or we'd overpaid over the odds for them. Nobody was going wild about them. And that's perfect for a manager to come in and say, it's my way or the highway. Listen to me. Don't think that you're the dog's bollocks. So that's what I'm happy to see about Man United. And that's why I'd say B+ and not a B, because you need that. You need those personalities. You need people that are going to listen and are not going to think their shit don't stink.
Yeah, I agree. I saw Nicky Butt talk about how these aren't superstars. These aren't the right signings, and I feel like it's the opposite. That's the opposite of what we needed, and I think it's been exactly what our problem has been. Like you've said, going for the big, overhyped, overpaid, overinflated ego players, and I don't get that vibe from any of the players that we've gotten so far. I feel like they're all going to be net positives for our team and our dressing room and our atmosphere around the club. So I'm happy. Yeah, like I said, despite the poor results, I give them a B.
And I'm so sick of that part, right? The Nicky Butts of the world and all the players from your treble-winning teams coming out and saying, "Oh, these aren't Man United signings." Yeah, because you're not treble-winning Man United anymore. You literally finished 8th. You were crap last season. You have no right to come out and say that you're going to get the best players in the world. So Nicky Butt, shut up and go away. Realise that Man United are crap right now and that you've got to build up from the foundation, right? Just like Sorrell at the beginning. Sorrell in the first 5-6 years wasn't buying bloody Andy Coles and this, that, and the other, right? He was buying players that ended up becoming really good, even though people didn't think they were necessarily going to be. Same thing for Wenger. He wasn't, buying the best players in the world all the time. He bought players that were underrated, that were, going to become better than a lot of the world thought they were, and then turn them into absolute superstars. So I need Man United legends to just shut the hell up. Let them do what they need to do, man.
And we know in modern football, the most successful teams are not teams really that are laden with Galacticos. We've tried that at Man United with the Ed Woodward era. It stank. We paid for overpaid players and superstars with huge egos and massive divas, and that were maybe just coming for the pay packet, and we suffered for it. And it's actually what's put us back all these years in our process of coming back up to being a top team. And you can see other teams build their squads in exactly this way. And you only see the like sprinkle of superstardom, or the hype players come near the end.
After they've already been somewhat successful, where the manager can say,
exactly.
I don't care if how good you are, you're coming into a title-winning team, set yourself down.
Exactly. Look at, I know you guys haven't won anything yet, but look at how Arsenal have developed the team. Look how Liverpool developed the team. They only got Alisson and Van Dijk right at the end as the little sprinkle at the end. They built their squad on 30 million to 40 million pound signings or less before that. Even City, like the majority of their signings are not 60, 70 million pound signings. There are a lot of 20, 30, 40 million pound signings in there that help build up the squad. And that's what we have to do. And that's what I feel like we were doing. Obviously, inflation means that you don't pay 20 or 30 anymore, really. You pay probably 40 or 50. But for me, that's still fine. It's better than going out there and spending 80 on a Maguire or a 90 on a Pogba, even though, I'm one of Pogba's defenders. This is the right way to go about it. So, respect to Nicky Butt and everything like that for his playing time. But, he was booted out of United probably for a couple of reasons. And maybe it was because he had this kind of idea. And it's not fit with modern football. Let's be real. That's maybe how you did things back in the old days, not now, mate. All right, so I've gone B, you've gone B plus. I can see a trend for these grades, but yeah, we're close by. We're close by. Let's go on to the overall winners then, John. Who are you going to give? These are for the Premier League, by the way, for all the listeners and the viewers. In the Premier League, who are you giving winners of the transfer window then?
I'm gonna go for Brighton, and it's the reason I say that is because I actually think. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to change that. I'm going Villa, and I think Villa. I'm going for Villa because I thought that they were making some weird decisions, like in terms of getting rid of Diaby and. Some of their decisions. I was thinking that kind of going a bit sideways, right? Like
Douglas Luiz,
like getting rid of Douglas Luiz, getting in Onana and whatever else. But I actually think that their overall team is going to get better as a result because I think they've unlocked an absolute gem in Morgan Rogers. I think John Duran's going to progress on now, right? They could have gone and tried to get a backup striker or somebody else. I think John Duran looks like he's going to be a bit of a baller if Watkins is not firing. I think Amadou Onana might end up being the one that everyone was just like, why the hell didn't we buy him for that price? And then if you add on to it, Tielemans is turning back into a baller. Everyone kind of thought he was dead and buried for a while, but now he's turning back into an absolute baller. So I actually think they will play better. I don't know whether they'll finish higher. I very much doubt it's possible for them to finish higher than they were last season. But I think overall, maybe their team has got better. And I'm going to be a hipster with that. I'm going to be a hipster and say Aston Villa. There we go.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that hipster. I like quite a few of their signings. I've obviously said I like Onana a lot. I think he'll be signing of the season. I think he started like an absolute house on fire. He's looked amazing. Ian Maatson, I think, will eventually come in the team.
Yeah, Maatson looks good as well.
Yeah, Jaden Philogene, I think, will come into the team as well, and he looked obviously really good in the Championship. The reason why I haven't gone with them is there's just been some curious ones, because they obviously brought in Enzo Berenchia from Juventus, Illing Jr. from Juventus in that Luiz deal, and they've loaned both of them out. They brought back Cameron Archer from Sheffield United and literally sold him straight back out again to Southampton. So there's been some weird deals in it where I just feel like they might be a little bit short. But, I mean, they've started really well. And I think their season will, again, come down to a lot of injuries. And you'll have to see how they cope with Champions League. But I'll tell you what, if they finish 5th or 6th with that addition of Champions League, with, maybe some decisions to weaken the squad, losing Diaby and Luiz, they've done amazing.
Also remember that they went out and got Ross Barkley as well, which I think is a weird one, but I think it could pay off in terms of depth and in terms of like having somebody that's going to come on and be a bit of a wizard after they've got injuries or everyone's tired. Because think about it, Ross Barkley was absolutely balling out last season as well. So I think that they've got some good shouts in there.
Yeah, it's a good bit of experience as well because I think they lack that a bit. So he could come in handy. So yeah, no, I hear you. I haven't gone for Villa though. I've gone for the other team in claret and blue, and I've gone for West Ham. So I wasn't sure about all of their deals. Kind of midway through when everyone was getting on the West Ham train. Oh, full crew, go! Max Gilman, Somerville. Everyone was going wild about their signings very early on. But when I look at that full list of players and the players that they let go, I feel like they've really backed the manager to give him what he wants in terms of the team. And they've really given him a chance to try and move that style away from being as boring and drab as David Moyes had them being before. So yeah, I really like the Kilman signing. I really like the Todibo signing. I think those two together in centre defence are going to end up being a really nice partnership. I think Wan-Bissaka's come in and started looking like bloody Cafu, so that's good for them. Somerville, I think, is a really decent winger that they've got from the Championship. I think he's shown when he was at Leeds, he had maybe some of the stardust to be able to perform in the Premier League. They've got Soler from PSG, who I think is a decent midfield option. That Guido Rodriguez from Betis for free, who's come into the starting lineups, look decent. I think for me, the only one where I know you are bigger on it than me is the full crew up front. I think it's a 50-50. Like it could bang, and to be honest, of the strikers they've signed, he probably has the best chance because he plays kind of the style of football that should require the least amount of adaptation for the Premier League. I feel like he's kind of born for the Premier League, but it just still might be too much of a tough task coming in at this age and with a new manager and everything. We'll have to wait and see. But no, I like their overall squad building. I think they've done a good job, and to be honest, I'm just still massively high off them having Kudus and Bowen. Like I think of those signings and just think how are they going to complement Kudus and Bowen, and I think a lot of them will complement those guys because Kudus was out here moving mad against Man City and trying to do it by himself. He was trying to Russ Westbrook it and just like give me the ball and let me do everything, and he almost pulled it off. So yeah, I like West Ham signing, so I'm going to go for West Ham for the overall winners. I'll jump in for this one then. The last section, I'll go for overall losers. I'm going to go for the Scassers, but not the red side, the blue side. I'm going to go for Everton. And yeah, a bit of it's personal, they're moaning at us about how we're not stumping up the money for Branthwaite and basically twerking to try and sell one of their best youth products they've had in years, which is very sus behaviour from the fans, I will say. But just looking at their transfers, I can't remember the last time Everton did a good transfer, I've got to be honest. It just feels like they're like shopping in that, that weird random aisle in Lidl, where they just pick up all kinds of random shit. Like, I look at some of the signings they've had and just go, what the hell are they thinking? Like, they've got Oriel Mangala from Lyon. He was at Nottingham Forest, didn't look like anything. Jack Harrison looks decent, but again, very uninspiring. Jesper Lindstrom from Napoli, I'm pretty sure he flopped there, makes no sense. Broja has had about 5 different loans at different clubs and hasn't done anything. Begovic, bloody hell, I didn't realise he's still playing. Iliman Ndiaye looks okay. The lad they bought from Marseille used to play at Sheffield United. From their performances so far, he looks all right. And then Tim Orogbunam from Aston Villa's also looked decent. He's looked a bit like a B-Tech Amadou Onana in the recent games. So he looks okay, but I just don't see the vision and I don't see the plan, and everything just feels like how are we going to avoid PSR? How are we going to just try and do some janky deals? And I feel a bit bad for Sean Dyche because, I feel like as much as he doesn't play the most inspiring football, he's been absolutely screwed with that job. They haven't given him a bloody chance, and it stinks because that just overall club planning from them is poor, so poor. And yeah, like you predicted, I think in some of the predictions or kind of joked around that they're going to go down. The season that they're moving into the new stadium. If they do, it's not on the players, it's not on the manager, it's totally on the leadership for how they've squad built this. Because I can't imagine Sean Dyche has planned some of this crap they've brought in. There's absolutely no chance. No chance. So I'm going Everton. What about you, mate?
So I'm going to leave out the crap. The very low level teams, because I think there are obviously some stinkers. I think I'm going to leave out Everton, and I'm going to look at kind of the bigger, better teams. Unfortunately, and I'm going to say Newcastle. And I know that this is probably going to come as like a weird one because they obviously held on to Isak and they held on to Bruno G, which were going to be the major worries for them for this season, right? Obviously, everybody was coming after them. But like some of the behavior that they had with like Guehi as well, like the way that all just flopped on them, and then like the Todibo stuff as well. I think they were after him, and then he ends up going to West Ham, Tosin as well. I think they've got worse. I think that in my opinion, if you look at that team, like that defense particularly, I know they've got a lot of injuries, but they should have been strengthening that team. And I know they've had issues with, profitability rules and this, that, and the other. But there's way better ways that could have ended for them in terms of squad depth. Even if they were going to lose Bruno G or somebody amazing from that team, I think overall this was the window for them to really try and kick on a little bit, based off the fact that a lot of other teams were inactive or didn't really do too much, right? I think they could have come out of the back of this window saying that they were the winners of it if they had played their cards right. And I think the way that they went after certain players and the way it dragged on and then ended up kind of flopping is almost Liverpool-esque in certain ways, where they big up that they're going after this person, that person, and
Hey Jude, on. Hey,
yeah, exactly. They big up these players for 3, 4, 5 weeks and beyond, and then they end up with nothing, and it stinks, man. To be honest with you, and I'm also still angry at them because they didn't give us either Bruno G or Isak. So overall, losers have that.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Actually, I was thinking about Newcastle as an option because I was looking at their ins, and it was so uninspiring. Honestly, like I feel like it's probably even worse than Everton. I don't know, man, but it's just because I guess I've downgraded Everton because they've lost a few gems. They've lost the Onanas and stuff like that.
Well, I also think for Everton, it means that they will go down because of the players that they've lost and the fact that they haven't replaced them. With Newcastle, they're not going to go down. They're just not going to capitalise on a massive opportunity they had.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis Hall. That was kind of like a Raya deal that was done last season.
Yeah.
There's Vlachodimos for the bloody dodgy PSR transfers that was sold for like 30 million. He's a backup. Lloyd Kelly for free. John Ruddy for free. Some young striker, Osula.
Yakuba Minte as well, right? Who looks like he's actually going to ball up. And I'm taking that one back as well because I thought that was pure fraud. But he actually looks like he's really good. So they actually screwed that one up as well.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely screwed that up, and I feel like they could have sold someone else, like Almiron or something else, and kept Minter. Yeah, I just feel like they've, and this might be because of us, and maybe Newcastle fans will get angry and feel like we're doing, main character syndrome stuff. But I do feel like the drama around Dan Ashworth and them not getting a new sporting director screwed them a bit because of that dragging on, and then. I think they were going for Dougie Freedman. They were going for Richard Hughes to replace him, and they didn't get either. And then they ended up getting Paul Mitchell in the last knockings of that period before the window started. I don't think they planned properly, and it looks like it because losing Minter might be an all-time stinker from them, and not getting Guehi might be an all-time stinker as well, and not having a backup for any of those guys. Because if they get a couple of injuries or Shah has another head loss, their defence is looking a bit smelly. And they got lucky against Tottenham. I'll be real, they got lucky.
They should have lost Tottenham that game.
Yeah, if Tottenham absolutely roasted the hell out of them in the second half, and if the youngsters had just spotted Son and played a ball to him, Son could have scored a couple of goals, because there was a bunch of times where they had like two on ones, 3-on-2s, where if you had a more composed wide player setting up Son, or if it was Son doing the setting up for like a Solanke, I reckon they would have won that game. It was just because Odebear looks a bit raw and he didn't make the right decisions, and Brennan Johnson's a two-pack of and that's the reason why they didn't take advantage. And then Ange's high line for life, mate, like screwed them, because it was one straight ball from Jolinton and they were done. It was ridiculous, like just completely unfair result really for Spurs, but typical.
Yeah.
And Newcastle got away with it. I think when they play some good teams, they're gonna get slapped up. So yeah, I think they'll be all right though. They'll probably still finish above us, but they definitely had a better chance, and they kind of flopped it, I think. So yeah, I hear that. All right, so we're giving Man United B and B pluses for their transfer window. Arsenal C and C pluses. Yeah, both pluses coming from your side. And then overall winners, I've gone West Ham, you've gone Villa, I've gone overall losers, Everton, you've gone Newcastle. Let's see how it goes. We will also, in closer to, I guess, November, December, I think we'll do our review of our predictions, and we can have a few chances to try and tweak things after we've got through the international breaks and had some Champions League and European fixtures, because I'm sure I'll change a few, because already that Savio shout looks all-time smelly.
And my Fulkrug shout is starting to look all-time smelly as well, so I might have to pull that one back in.
Yeah, that one's not looking good either. And I mean, yeah, Brentford as well. My God, I said they're going to go down, and they're playing amazing.
They're looking, and Buemo's cooking.